Hello everybody and welcome along to today's video, where today I'm going to be looking at another fairly highly debated topic, I guess you would say, within Doctor Who. It is spoilers. Spoilers are a fascinating topic. There's always this slightly strange sort of sensation of wanting to know everything and also wanting to know nothing about the show. It's a really interesting phenomenon, and I thought I'd just take a little look at sort of where we've been massively spoiled in the past. Is it a good thing to be spoiled? Do we actually want to know these things, or do we just think we want to know these things? These major plot spoilers and big things about the show, and also what to expect from Series 11 and Chris Chibnall's sort of approach to spoilers as well. So I thought I'd take a look at all those things in this video. Well, first off, I guess the key question is whether generally you actually want to see spoilers or not. Personally, for me, I've been kind of mixed between different series as to how much stuff I'd wanted to see. So for Series 9 in particular, and Series 10 a fair amount as well, I was looking at spoilers quite a lot, looking on various spoiler websites and that kind of thing to see location, filming, pictures, videos, whatever, anything that I could find about the show, particularly for Series 9 and also for Series 10 a fair amount as well. So I knew a reasonable amount about what was going on through Series 9 and Series 10 from that, but for Series 11 I want it to be a complete, as sort of clean as for me as possible, knowing as little as possible going to this series, just because it is a massive change and I do feel like it went a bit too far, and on my side to some degree, but also from the production team and Stephen Moffat just telling us spoilers, putting them in trailers or putting them in synopsis completely unnecessarily, which just kind of wrecked some of the major surprises of recent series. So I'm hoping Chris Chibnall will do something different to that, and that's why I'm sort of on my side have decided I just don't want to know at the moment. I just want to wait and watch the episodes and sort of enjoy them fresh without knowing what's going to happen in them. But there's this really interesting sort of divide of people. You've sort of got the people who completely don't want to see a spoiler at all. You've got ones in the middle who will scroll through Twitter if they appear, you'll like them, but that's about it. And the people who are obsessed with finding out anything they possibly can about the show, which, I don't know, I don't sort of knock you massively for that, but personally it feels like you're kind of spoiling yourself. What's so amazing about knowing the whole plot of every single episode? Why do you want to know that before you watch it? It seems a slightly strange attitude to have, I guess you would say, and it just sort of surely takes away the enjoyment. I mean, if you are one of those people who does look for spoilers everywhere and wants to know as much as possible, I'd love to know why, just because it sort of seems a bit yeah, like you're almost ruining your enjoyment of the programme just because you already know everything's going to happen. Of course, a lot of it doesn't help when the actual production team or advertising, marketing, branding, whoever, of actual Doctor Who people actually tell you stuff that shouldn't be told and shouldn't be known. The most recent and obvious, of course, example is the John Sim Master returning in World Enough in Time, which would have been probably the greatest reveal in years in Doctor Who, in a very, very, very long time. It would have been one of those apps, because it was so well crafted within the episode. You genuinely, if you didn't know that was John Sim, you wouldn't have guessed it was John Sim until he revealed himself. And that would have been absolutely shocking. We would have absolutely sort of lost our minds at that if that hadn't been spoiled at the very beginning of the series, or just before the start of the series, at the press screening for the pilot. Stephen Moffat randomly put a trailer for the series at the end of that episode which has John Sim in it. Why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense. They tried to keep it. They said, oh, don't report on it until you see it in the trailer on the first episode. So either way, they planned to reveal it before World Enough in Time, whether that was leaked or not, which just made no sense to me. It surely has to be that the production team were concerned about the ratings and about having enough of an impact and promotion to it. They felt they needed to chuck in a big spoiler like that to build the hype for the series. I can see that as the only argument as to why they chose to do that, because otherwise it just does not make any sense whatsoever when the story is clearly crafted around that being a surprise reveal. And all the production team were under that sort of idea they had to keep everything secret about John Sim because they didn't want it to be leaked and didn't want to be spoiled because it was meant to be a big reveal. And then they just go and show it in a trailer at the start of the series. It just baffles me. There were similar problems in Series 9 with Gallifrey being revealed and spoiled in the synopsis for Heaven Sent and Hellbent. They very clearly stated that Gallifrey was back and the Time Lords were back and everything, which yes, that's not quite as sort of obvious and clear as a trailer at the end of the episode, but it's still, a lot of people read synopsis, so don't put critical and important plot details in a synopsis for an episode when that's just meant to, at most, tease the episode. Don't go and say, this is what's happening in it, basically. It's just, again, it absolutely makes no sense why you'd spoil something as massive as Gallifrey returning as well. That's about as big as it gets in Doctor Who. Why would you tell people about that? Not just let it happen. And the same with Clara as well. For some bizarre reason they decided that Stephen Moffat okayed them having Clara in the diner outfit on the front of Doctor Who magazine just before Face the Raven. So then we see her die in Face the Raven, and then boom, she's still on the cover of Doctor Who magazine with an outfit we have not seen her in yet, which just tells us, oh yeah, she's definitely coming back. And it's like, again, why would you do that? It makes absolutely no sense to spoil another critical plot detail. Of course, alongside production team spoilers being made, there's also the leaks that come out from time to time. You remember that it's the Series 9 opening two-parter. That was leaked in, I think, about 6 months before, that Davros was in that. And of course it turned out to be true. Back in Series 8, the first 5 scripts and episodes were completely leaked online, which was just absolutely disastrous for the show. And it seems that the tabloids have some sort of insider within Doctor Who that just tells them stuff, and then they post articles about it, and usually they're 50-50, sort of half of them are right, half of them are wrong, so you do actually have to pay attention, unfortunately. It, again, can just wreck the enjoyment and the shock factor of the show, which is so big, and I'm really hoping Chris Chibnall will make that change. Giving it to Stephen Moffat and his production team, they didn't do it all bad. There were some good reveals in there. Look at Missy in Series 8. Although it was an obvious fan theory, it's still, no one actually knew until it was revealed, and it's still one of the best moments, I think, in recent Doctor Who, when she does reveal herself that she is the Master. I think that's such a great reveal. And of course you've got River Song being Amy and Rory's daughter. That's another quite good reveal there as well, which wasn't, as far as I remember, actually spoiled. It was sort of a bit of putting 2 and 2 together that you could probably work it out, but it still wasn't confirmed at that point. So that was, there were some elements of it like that, but it did feel that they just went a little bit too far in the Moffat era in terms of promoting the show and revealing stuff. Even just completely pointless things like putting the beginning of 12's regeneration in the Twice Upon a Time trailer. Why on earth would you put the actual regeneration scene in a trailer? It makes, again, no sense whatsoever. That you don't need to have a shot of 12 regenerating to promote your programme. That's going to make no difference to how many people watch the show, if we're being honest. So it's very annoying, and I really hope that Chris Chibnall stops it. And I think I'm optimistic that he will. He does have a track record for it with Broadchurch. He was very, very hush-hush on spoilers and Emmy filming pictures or anything. He kept it all sort of completely hidden from view as much as he could, and avoided sort of giving too many comments in the press or letting the press say anything about it when they're reviewing episodes. They kept it all very secretive, and that made the show much more enjoyable because, of course, around its crime drama, that kind of thing, if you've watched it, you know that a lot of it is about the reveal, about cliffhangers, shocks, and that kind of thing. So it needed to work like that, but it really did, and it made sort of the ending of Series 3 in particular very effective when you genuinely had no idea who'd done it, and it was a shock who had actually done it. So that is the sort of thing we want to see in Doctor Who again, and I'm really hoping we're optimistic so far, looking at the lack of filming pictures and general press stuff that's come out from Series 11. The only stuff we've already had is the various things from the location filming in South Africa, which personally I prefer not to have seen, but I have, and I kind of know what's going on episode 2, I think it is, or whatever episode it is they're filming in South Africa. Not going to spoil it here, but we do kind of have a reasonable idea of what's going on, which for me I'm a little bit disappointed about because I preferred not to see it. But unfortunately, scrolling through Twitter, it's basically impossible if you follow a fair amount of Doctor Who Twitter or related Twitter accounts. It's basically impossible to avoid those filming pictures, which is a bit annoying. But that's not Chris Chibnall's fault. That can't be helped. When you go out and film on location, there's not much you can do, really. So certainly the signs are there that Chris Chibnall's going to do a better job of it, and I hope that continues through to the actual series. There's no need to say anything before it actually happens. Yes, talk it up with the generic stuff like it's going to be a complete new show change, there's going to be big shocks and reveals in this series, anything of the generic rubbish like that they throw in as interviews and whatever. But don't just sort of release a synopsis for episode 7 that says the Daleks are back in it or something, or the finale that tells us the Master's turning up again. We don't need that sort of thing. Just keep it quiet. If it's that big a shock, don't give anybody a preview copy before it's aired. Just air it. You don't need to have previews of it online for people to watch it. That's not going to make much difference in reality. So if it's that big a shock, just don't give anybody a wait until it goes out on the TV, and then no one will be spoiled, and it will be amazing. So I think that's just the key thing, is just to kind of keep things under wraps as much as possible, and it looks, we can tell that Chris is doing that. And I just hope that he keeps that up through to Series 11 and throughout it, and for any future series he does as well, not sort of keep it quiet for 6 months and then suddenly plot details for every single episode to leak out straight away. And a lot of this was the problem with Stephen Moffat, was that he'd always do, I think it was the Radio Times episode previews, where he'd basically go through every single episode of the series that's coming up and give you a paragraph about it, sort of explaining the plot of it, essentially, or the concept behind each episode. Some of them were more or less spoilery, but basically you had a rough idea exactly what's happening in every single episode, which, for me, is not what I want. It's very hard to avoid once those end up on social media, because social media is just a minefield and it will spread everywhere, because a lot of people do like them, but it just feels unnecessary and causes problems and just makes the show less enjoyable as far as I'm concerned. So apologies if this has sounded a bit like a sort of ranty video, me just moaning about spoilers in general, but it's just something that I hope that the show can improve on in the future, because there's been too many big reveals and shocks spoiled in the past. This is a great opportunity, with a fresh new start, a new team and everything, to shut things down, keep it quiet. You can promote the show without telling everybody what happens. That is possible, and it happens in most other TV and film franchises. So Doctor Who can surely manage that. So that, I think, is just what they need to do for Series 11. But I'd like to hear from you guys as well about this issue, because I think it is quite a big talking point at the moment, particularly as there's just the occasional filming picture that pops up, but it's really pretty quiet around the show at the moment. Are you one of those people who wants to see all these spoilers, and you're a bit frustrated at the moment at the lack of spoilers because Chris Chibnall's keeping everything so quiet? Or are you one of those people who, like me, wants to avoid spoilers wherever possible? Are you absolutely against it? You want to know nothing going into the series, or are you a bit more open? I'd just like to hear sort of your perspective on this, and what you think about the spoilers in the past, and how you think it's going to go in the Chris Chibnall era as well. I think it's just quite an interesting topic to look at. But for me, it's as few spoilers as possible, please, guys. I just don't want to know anything. So if you do know any serious spoilers about Series 11, please don't be an idiot and post it in the comments, because that's just going to ruin the show for many people who don't want to know those things. So if you know stuff, don't tell me. So that's it for this video on spoilers in Doctor Who. If you did enjoy this video, hit the like button, remember to subscribe if you're new here, and I'll see you again very soon for another video. Goodbye!